In this video, we're going to talk about Cyan's isolation and the search for her belonging. Alrighty then, this is a comic book breakdown and review of Misery, issues number 1 through 4, the full and complete story. Brought to you by Rated Comics. Now, before we get into the content, link in description if you wish to add this comic book and or any of our other limited print rated comic exclusives to add to your comic book collection. Support the art, support the industry. Also, timestamps will be in description if you wish to go from issue to issue. And if you like the content we're throwing up, you know what to do. Like this channel, like this video, and subscribe to Rated Comics YouTube channel. With all that being said, hey, let's get into the content. Now, we all know that this comic book takes place in the Spawn universe. Misery is Terry Fitzgerald's daughter. Even though Misery is not her name, Cyan is her name, but the name of the comic is Misery. So we begin this issue in New York City. It's about 6:27 p.m. It looks like a normal day, normal afternoon. There's a guy bumping on his Walkman headphones, just listening to music. We see the sign that says "Don't walk, now walk," and he just casually crosses the street just like any other day. But suddenly he is run down by this car, and these doves bottoming the title, I suppose, and the blood title lines say Misery Part 1. And there you go, that's just what happens. We don't know what the whole point of it is, but this lady comes outside and she tells Carol goodnight. All right, Jenny, we see you tomorrow. So we know the lady in the glasses, her name is Jenny. So now that she's stuck in traffic because this guy crossing the street got hit pretty bad, that's why there's so much traffic, and she's just in stress because she's gonna be late coming home. But you know, we don't know how much time that is, but she's super late coming home. So she looks at her phone at 6:46. Even though the beginning of the comic book started off at 6:27 p.m., she knows she's late. I think she sent a text message, and she didn't get home to Staten Island until about 8:12 p.m. And we see her husband looking pissed with the light shining on him, and the kids at the dinner table empty plated because you know they hungry. But on top of being hungry, he's pissed, talking about we've been waiting for dinner. Jenny is like, look, I sent the text. I don't give a damn if you sent your text. I'm hungry, and you're supposed to have dinner ready. So he tells the kids to go to their room, and you know it's not gonna end pretty after that. And the way he just goes in on her, he landed them heavy ass hands on her, and you could tell dishes flying, blood going, and the kids are crying, not again, I hate this. And the daughter's like, it's okay, mommy will be okay. Ooh, but he's going to work on her. His blood is just splatting all over the place, and we see that there's an NYPD badge. Okay, this is tough to look at, so we're just gonna go to the next panel. The next panel right here, Terry Fitzgerald and Cyan are having an argument because Cyan's ready to leave, and Terry's like, where you got to go? You ain't got no money. And Cyan's like, I'm going anywhere but here. I can't do this no more. Do what? Says Terry. Stay here and watch you do nothing to find mom's killer. Christ, not again, says Terry Fitzgerald. It was an accident. And it's a reference to Spawn Resurrection in issue number 1. And Cyan's not having it. She's like, that's bull jive. Open your eyes. It was never an accident. They killed her, and you've done nothing to find the people responsible for that. Nothing. And Terry's like, okay, why? Why would someone want to kill her? To get to me, says Cyan. Don't you get it? Or to find Uncle Al. Either way, they killed her. So I'll find them while you just do nothing and mess around and not find out. I just had to add that in there. And Terry's like, you're crazy. You damn right I'm crazy, says Cyan. Because you made me that way. You and those damn drugs that you fed me. I didn't want drugs. I wanted your help. And he was like, well, I was trying to help. Yeah, you were helping me out by turning me into an addict, and I ain't trying to have all that. So hope you're proud of yourself, Terry. Well, she didn't say Terry, but that would be salty if she did. So she's like, now that mom's gone, do you know how much that hurts me? And we see that she just disappears, kind of getting a glimpse of her own abilities right now. And Terry is like, yeah, I know how much it hurts you. I do, but you're not the only one that's hurt. I lost a wife in the process. I just wish that we could. And before he could finish his sentence, he sees that she's gone, and he calls out for her name. And Cyan's like, Daddy, I'm here. I've been here the whole time. You just couldn't see me. Just like when I was growing up, you didn't see me. So she reappears again, and Terry's like, I don't understand. And Cyan's like, look, I'm different, Daddy. I've always been different. You were just too blind to notice. So minutes later, she gives Jake and Kate a kiss goodbye, and she tells them that she loves them so much. So Terry's like, well, where are you going? Or wherever you're going, you're gonna have a place to stay? Oh, don't worry, I've taken care of it. So she takes a taxi. Later in Soho in New York, she sees one of her friends at an overpriced coffee shop. She's just like, come on, girl, when I get out in 20 minutes, let's hang out, let's do something fun. It's been a while since they talked. They haven't gotten together in such a long time, but they want to go to this Thai place and catch up and have a little girl conversation, you know what I mean? So they go down to the subway and they start catching up on this conversation, just catching up like old friends do after you haven't seen them for a while. But these guys have something else in mind, and you can tell it's not good. Like asking the ladies they can tag along, and Ginger Girl, you looking good too. And she's like, mess off, we ain't trying to do nothing, shoot, we're busy over here. And the guy's like, I'll watch that pretty mouth of yours, otherwise I got something to put in it. And Cyan's like, look, all right, we don't have to do this, okay? You guys do your thing, we'll do our thing, have a wonderful time. And they're pissed, whatever. So they go to the bathroom because they got to relieve themselves. But them guys from the subway, they come back with another brother and they want to do some kind of tongue action. I'll leave that up to the imagination. But homegirl's like, I ain't having none of that. Kicks him where he wanted to use it, you know what I mean? But yeah, the guy's just like, yo, that hurts. But the other brother is like, grabs her by the neck and tells Cyan, you better leave while you're still ahead. This ain't your fight, girl, you hear that? So he pops her. So now the guy sticks out his tongue and asks homegirl for a kiss. And Cyan gets up. She's like, no. Guy is about to whip it out right now. And Cyan goes to work on them. And she's enraged and she's pissed. And I don't know if she's using her powers right now or if Uncle Al taught her some skills to pay those bills. So she tells him, drop her. Brooke, run. Get help. Get out of here. And this guy who got injured earlier was like, okay, you're dead. We're not messing around. You should have stopped while you were ahead. Now we're going to mollywop you to the fullest. So this guy continues to beat her with zero remorse, letting rage override everything else, leaving Cyan no choice but to fight for her life. So she grabs him, and that's when it happens, when Cyan's world shatters into the insane. The boy's worst memories blast forward, searing him with magnified visions of his most insidious actions, forcing him to feel the emotional pain he puts on others at 10 times the intensity. So whatever pain he caused other people, he's getting that back tenfold. And Cyan, she also absorbs what he's feeling, then everything goes black. Later on, she's in the police department getting interrogated. By who? Does that lady look familiar to you? That's the lady from the beginning of this issue who got abused by her husband because she didn't get home in time for dinner. You know what I mean? So she's asking her questions like, okay, the guys that attacked you, we find them unconscious. You know what happened? Nope, it was a struggle. I can tell by looking at your face, but the problem is their mouths are paralyzed. Do you remember anything? Well, no, says Cyan. I don't remember nothing. That's weird. Does she, or does she really not remember anything? We don't know. So the lady in the glasses tells her, here's my card in case you do. But I know this is hard, you've been through a lot, but unfortunately, if you won't give me your name or where you live, I'm required to phone Child Protective Services and have them pick you up. And Cyan's like, I know. Is it okay if I use the bathroom? And I guess that little vision right there of the badge with the blood on it, that was going back to when homegirl was abused by her husband. So I guess Cyan is feeling her and gets a little glimpse of what kind of personal life she's going through right now at home, and it ain't good. So Cyan goes to the bathroom, she's gonna wait for her outside, and Cyan weighs her options, but there's only one real path, and that's to disappear and leave. So we see Twitch, and Twitch is like, hey Jen, how things are going? And Twitch is like, I heard they brought a battered girl, how's she doing? And Jen's like, she's afraid, but she's also hiding something. She's a pretty tough cookie, but I just can't figure out what it is. And Twitch is like, you know what, girl, you'll figure it out, just give it time. And Jen's like, I know, but this one feels kind of personal. I hate what happened to her. It does feel personal because you went through that earlier. So Cyan in her translucent state walks right past him. She takes a taxi. Taxi driver is like, okay, where do you want to go? Is everything okay? And she gives him the address, and she sees a glimpse of her mom, Wanda, just smiling at her, and she tells Wanda, I miss you, Mom. And I wonder if that's a callback to the earlier Spawn issue in Spawn issue 354 or King Spawn, when Cyan was talking to Al Simmons about I see and talk to Wanda all the time. But so she arrives at the place, she gets out the car, and it's Granny Blake. And Granny Blake is like, is that you, Cyan? Woo, Granny Blake, how are you doing, baby girl? No, she didn't say that, but she's like, Granny Blake, how are you doing? And Granny Blake is like, I may be blind, but I don't ever forget the sound of someone's walk. Now come in here and give me a hug. And Cyan's like, I'm great, Granny. Everything is just perfect. Is it really? But we don't know, because we don't know if Cyan's gifted or if she's cursed. But this is Cyan's unraveling power. So previously in Misery, Cyan is attacked in the subway and goes on the run from the police to hide her dark secret. So she goes on the run, she disappears, and she goes to Granny Blake's house. It's Saturday. It's 11:37 in the morning, and Granny Blake wakes up Cyan, telling her that she's cooked her some breakfast and she'll wake up. She gets something to eat, girl, because, a girl's got to eat. And Cyan's like, okay, I'll be there in a few minutes. But, beaten and bruised and feeling in pain, she wakes up. She just kind of sits in the bathroom all to herself, just going through the trauma that she experienced the day before. So Granny Blake reminds her, Cyan, your breakfast is getting cold. And looking at that breakfast, that's a bountiful breakfast right there. Come on now, we hungry like that. So Cyan tells Granny that she just had to get away from Dad, for a little while. Is it okay that she could stay here for a while until she gets things figured out? And Granny Blake is like, of course, baby, stay as long as you want till you figure things out. But I need to ask you, how are you doing? Honestly. And when someone asks you a question and they end it with honestly or tell me the truth, or they begin with that, tell me the truth, and then the question, you got to believe that they know something and you better come correct. That's just my opinion. That's what life experience has taught me. And Cyan's like, I'm okay, really. You're the one that we should be worried about, especially after what happened to you. And she's referencing the events of King Spawn issue number 34 and 35 when Al Simmons had to rescue her for being kidnapped. And Granny Blake is like, how do you know what happened to me? I didn't tell no one. Oh, sorry. Maybe I'm confused. That's fine, says Granny Blake, but let me ask you again. How you doing? You ain't trying to duck and dodge that question for me. And Cyan's like, good, just silly teenage stuff that's happening. That's pretty much it. Is that so? Before Cyan could take another bite, Granny Blake knows this ain't right. And she acts all enraged. Well, she ain't acting, she is enraged right now. I won't allow this. You don't walk into my home and lie to me. Not now, not ever. You hear me? Pancakes, butter, fruit, soda, juice, all over the place. And Cyan wasn't quite ready for that smoke. And Granny Blake was like, okay, look, I'm sorry, I got besides myself. I shouldn't have raised my voice like that to you. No excuse for me, but I'm concerned about you, that's all. And I know you're not doing all right. You want to know how I know? I might be blind, but I know when something's wrong with my great granddaughter. I might be an old fool, but I can tell you that last night when you walked past me saying that you were awesome, you weren't. I can hear labored breathing and the sounds of your foot shuffling. That's not the kind of energy that teenagers walk with. So somehow you know about me? If you want to stay here, you're more than welcome to, but you got to tell me the truth. You do that, everything will be just fine. I promise you that. You can't be lying like that to Granny Blake. Come on now, you can't be going to an old black lady's house and lying like that, especially with all that good food. Nuh-uh, there's a price to pay for it. But going to the next scene, we see Jen, the lady that was interviewing Cyan before about the incident on the subway. Now she's dealing with the ramifications of Cyan going missing. So I guess her boss goes up to her and asks her, you're escaping. Did you get any fingerprints on her? No need. Didn't think there was any need to get her prints. So she tells her, I didn't have a cause to get those prints. So her boss is like, well, that's kind of rough. So what are you going to do now? And she's like, everything I can. That girl, she was hiding something. She was scared and I knew it because that girl, not Cyan, but the girl with the glasses, Jen, she's going through some things at home too. So it takes one to know one, right? So her boss is like, well, the chief of police has got your back, so I hope something pops up for you. And she gets a text message, Jen, the one with the glasses. And the text message states that DA doesn't like it when kids go missing. And all Jen could go is, how did he find out? He's connected to everyone here, so don't answer it. I won't. So now what? So her boss tells her, I can help if you need. I can check the shelters, maybe talk to those boys the cops found her with, or the boys that beat her up. Jen is like, no, those boys can barely speak. You might need to give them another day or two. And I've got a stack of other missing kids that need my attention, so I'm just gonna have to deal with this on my own, but I appreciate your offer though. So back in Granny Blake's home, Cyan leaves as Granny Blake sleeps. Needing to clear her head, Cyan goes to a place she's visited 100 times before. Lost in thought until one of the kids takes an inadvertent fall and the kid calls for his mom. So seeing the mother tenderly comfort her child causes a flashback of Cyan's old past. And that's her past with Wanda Blake comforting her, giving her a squeeze to make her feel better after getting a boo-boo, you know what I mean? But ain't no boo-booing around here, so 100 memories cascade, each painfully reminding her about how much she's forever lost. So that was 7:21 p.m. So at an hour and a half later or so, 8:48 p.m., not really an hour and a half later, more like an hour and 20 minutes or so. I'm not trying to math right now. Too early for that. I don't have my coffee yet. And speaking of which, if you want to buy your boy a cup of coffee, don't forget to donate to the super things or link in description. But hey man, the greatest compliment you can do is by liking this video and subscribing to this channel. But we're gonna go right back into the content, man. So this guy asks, mind if he sits down? And Cyan's like, go ahead. And she's like, you seem like you're sad. Nope, just tired. Well, it's more than that, I think. You're one of us, aren't you? I'm sorry, what did you ask? Cyan says. Like, even though Cyan has a gift or a curse, you can't be coming up to her like that. It's like, you can't be telling Granny Blake, like, I know what you've been through, even though it's just like recently. And he says, I said, you're one of us, aren't you? There's lots of us stuck here, like you, and no one thinks we're worth anything. No one thinks we're worth protecting, but we are. Have a good night, says Cyan. I ain't trying to hear all that. But he ain't trying to let her leave. So he grabs her wrist and Cyan stiff arms him like Ray Rice, running back style, LaDainian Tomlinson on the ramp, or whatever the case may be. And she tells him, let go, don't touch me. But the physical contact between her and another is beginning to trigger memories in that person, hidden deep inside, because the memories revealed are the grave sins that that person has committed. Touching, that's exactly when it begins, just like last time. But she doesn't know what's happening. But for Cyan, she also must endure reliving their atrocities at the same time, at the same intensity. So this guy is like, they'll notice me if I can deliver them value, then I'll be worth saving. You're that value. Kind of creepy if you ask me, but the police show up at the right time. But by the time they show up, she's already gone. She running away. She ain't playing like that. So her friend Brooke is serving up a latte, and she has to go to the bathroom to fix herself, to adjust herself, to make sure her hair and her uniform is straight. So there's a door that bangs, and Brooke is like, I'll be right there. What's wrong with people, man? Like, let me do my thing. But keep in mind, Cyan could disappear and reappear again. And Brooke is like, Cyan, how you, girl? Don't be scaring me like that. And she holds up a sign, need your phone, meet at your house. Why do you need my phone, says Brooke. And Cyan holds up another sign. You get the picture, she can't talk right now. So Brooke gets home after her mom picks her up from work. She goes to her room and Cyan reappears again in the dark. Brooke, girl, why the frick you keep scaring me like that? You're acting weird, Cyan. Well, here's your phone back. When she hands her phone back, Cyan was pretending to be Brooke, text messaging other people that Cyan's a little bitch and I'm done with her and I can't stand her right now. She stabbed me in the back. So Cyan's like, I'm gonna get right to it. You're in danger. Why, says Brooke. From the police? Did you tell them about me? No, I didn't. Then why? Because of me, says Cyan, but I can't explain why. You're gonna have to trust me on this. Well, what about those text messages you sent? I need everyone to think that you hate me right now. It's why I wrote those. The less people think you care about me, the better off you're gonna be. My life's kind of screwed up right now and I don't want anyone getting caught up in it. So Brooke is like, okay, how can I help? By protecting yourself. From what? From who? You know, she's got a lot of questions, and rightfully so. And Cyan's like, remember when I disappeared? I didn't. I got put in an institution, a drug rehab place. And that's referencing Spawn issue 268 to 270, which I did not read, but I gotta check that out. And eventually we will get to all the Spawn issues, but that's definitely good editorial notes right there. Brooke is like, well, so what happened? When I escaped, I took this flash drive, all their files from the past year, and a box of files too. So Brooke is like, what do you want me to look for? Anything with names on them, specifically ones with fancy titles next to them. And any medical charts. I want to know what they were shoving down my throat. Okay, so she trying to do some homework right here, but I don't know if you want to go all that. But while she's going all that, Jen from earlier, remember in the previous issue when she comes home to her husband, it's dark and gloomy and things ain't right. So she calls for her kids and her husband's like, oh no, they're not here. They're spending the night with the Estradas. You didn't answer my calls today. Why? I got busy. You were busy all day? I hate that question, because you know damn well you can take a minute to call back, but maybe she was entrenched in that case. But he's trying to hear all that, so he goes to work on her. The same way the issue number 1 begins is the same way issue number 2 ends, and that is the end of Misery, issue number 2. So previously in Misery, Cyan delves deeper into the mystery surrounding her mother's death. So we begin in this courtroom right here. Before we take the story forward, this judge is looking to make a possible probation or give a 5 to 8 year range of a sentence. So the DA talks to Peter about, you know, does this punk really deserve all that? Yes, I want to push it to the max. I want the sentence to set an example for any future crimes implied or committed or whatnot. So the DA asks, well, what's up with your wife? I usually see her around dropping files around. Is she around or what? Yeah, she's fighting the flu of some sort. Well, bummer, because we really miss her. So who is his wife? Remember in issue 2, Jen, the girl that keeps getting beat by him, and also in issue number 1, that's his wife. She has a black eye, and her son brings a teddy bear to help make her feel better. But back to Cyan. She's looking over this medical certificate, and Granny Blake is asking Cyan for some water, and Cyan's like, okay. She looks kind of annoyed by it, like, do you want any ice? But Granny Blake is not only blind, but she's acting deaf right now. So Cyan's like, whatever, okay, I'll do what I gotta do. So Granny Blake goes over her shoulder like, what are you doing? And Cyan's like, I'm just finishing up some homework. You know, I got this big science project that's due on Thursday. It's pretty important. It counts towards 30% of my grade. So Granny Blake is like, well, I wish I could help you there, but I wasn't much of a student when I was younger. And though I'm not prying, I'm just curious, why are you and your daddy ain't getting along these days? Because in issue number 1, Cyan ran away from Terry Fitzgerald. And Cyan tells her, look, I don't know, he like doesn't seem to care what's happening to me all that much. Oh no, says Granny Blake, he cares and he loves you very much. And Cyan's like, okay, look, I just really miss Mom a lot. Well, we all do. Well, Cyan's like, Granny, if someone did something really bad to you, what would you do? Well, if it was really bad, first thing I'll do is go to the cops. I'll call the police. I guess that gives her the next step of this. So later on, she goes to the subway. A gentleman sits next to her, and he's like, look, I don't mean to bother you, but your friend Al Simmons, aka Spawn, we know our boy, right? Of course you do if you follow this channel. So Al sent me to check on you to see how you're doing if you need anything. And Cyan's like, so he's stalking me now? Tell him I'm fine. Well, your face doesn't look like it. That's my problem. Al has to trust I know what I'm doing. What he's referencing is when Cyan's face met some hands in the previous issue or 2. And this guy's like, look, Al does know what you're doing, but he also knows you're looking for answers regarding your mom's death. The problem is, if you keep poking that bear, you're going to find some answers that you don't want to see. And if you aren't prepared, the people are going to kill you because you're a threat to them. And Cyan's like, I don't care. If you know who killed my mom, I want to know who they are. And this guy is like, in a very ominous way, like, that's your job to figure out. Mine is to simply say, you might not like the answers you find. Al said to start with where your mom worked. He also said to be careful. So she goes to the burger house and she asks her friend Brooke, like, hey, I need to borrow your phone again. And Brooke is like, okay, well, good to see you, but what do you want my phone for? I don't know, I just want to Google some stuff. And Brooke is like, look, I'm trying to figure out, girl, like, first you say I can't be with you. Use my phone to text my friends that I hate you. Now you need me, but I really want to help you. And I know you say it's dangerous, but I really want to be your friend right now. And Cyan's like, look, I can't take your help. Just don't ask me why. And Brooke is like, even from me. And Cyan's like, yes, even from you. So I'm just your freaking friend whenever you need it. That's my phone. All right, look, I don't, forget you. Go get your own freaking phone and find another best friend. Obviously, we get what Cyan's trying to do is to protect her friend Brooke from getting involved. But Brooke wants to help out, but because Cyan's not letting her, Brooke is just having a fit about it. So in Cyan's room, she's looking over this medical checkup, which leads to Detective Jen. And I wonder if that's Detective Jen with the one with the black eye from earlier. So her paperwork trail leads her to St. Joseph Adolescent Treatment Center. She goes in, she makes herself invisible, and she goes past this guy that's excited to take little Annie to Disneyland over the phone, but he hears a noise. He gets up and he investigates that noise. And moments later, he comes across Cyan. And Cyan's like, boo, I wouldn't call security if I were you. What the freak you doing in my office? You're that girl. There's lots of people looking for you. And Cyan's like, yeah, I know. But none of them are the police. Why? Why when I went missing, didn't you report that? What are you hiding from them? Go to hell, you're just a junkie. And Cyan's like, yeah, I'm a junkie that you created. And I won't even ask why. I know how greed works on weak people, so I'll be back once I get these files that I'm taking, alright? So deuces. And the guy pulls out a gun on Cyan like, you ain't going nowhere. Actually, I am, says Cyan, because these files, these little pictures of kids on your phone, I've already sent them. And I've sent it to someone who'll give them to the media and your wife. I'm sure that'll put a damper on your Disneyland plans. So here's my deuces, but it's in one finger and not two. You get the drift. So across town, 3 hours later, Cyan goes to the deli shop and she's following the trail that this mysterious guy tells her, courtesy of Al Simmons. She dresses up like a very promiscuous girl trying to go fishing. You know what I mean? So later on in the night, NYPD pulls up and says, ladies, not too smart in the wintertime to be dressed like they should have been dressing warmer. And Cyan looks at him and sees the picture and she's like, yes, That's my mark. Well, you tell your girl, Shannon, that they got another hour, then I'm shutting it down. I'm serious, says his brother from the NYPD. And he's like, wait a minute, looking at Cyan. I ain't never seen you before. Get that booty, get that cake in my car. Let's make a bakery. Forgive me for saying that as she's IDing the brother. But before we go any further in this issue, this video is sponsored by coffee. So if you'd like to buy a boy a cup of coffee, link in description, or donate to the super thanks. But the greatest compliment you guys can do is by liking this video and subscribing to Rated Comics YouTube channel. With all that being said, let's get back into the content. So she IDs him. He's asking her, let's have some fun. She's like, no, get away. But he grabs her arm and injects her with something. And whatever he injects her with, you know, it's we don't know, but it's meant to knock her out. But because they touched each other, it's the same connection that triggered her last episode, with the same mind exploding of horrid images splattering across both their minds, revealing all at once the sadistic and cruel acts of this officer has perpetrated upon those he has sworn to protect. This officer, Johnny, that's his name, he was one of the photos Cyan found in her stolen files. She wanted to know why a cop was involved with a drug rehab center, though she may never get her answer as the two of them fall further and further into the dark arms of the Maccabe until they wake up. And when they wake up, he's out cold and looking worse than he did before, and Cyan is out cold, but we don't know where they're at and how this is going. And this is going darker and darker as Cyan unravels the secret and the darkest secret of her mother's death. But that is the end of Misery, issue number 3. So previously on Misery, Cyan goes undercover looking for answers and instead finds unwanted attention. So we end off with the issue with Cyan going undercover with this officer who has this thing for women, and I mean in a bad way, and not in a down bad way, but in a very unethically down bad way, you know. So these officers come in, they close on the vehicle exactly where we left off at issue number 3. They open the door and they see an injured officer, so they turn him around and they just see him just all bloodshot eyed and bloody, and they're like, oh my god, man, but is he still alive? They think he is. So they ask about the broad, which is Cyan in disguise. And they're like, man, she's got a pulse. We got to get an ambulance around here. So they want to know what the hell is going on tonight. So Cyan wakes up in the hospital bed in St. Vincent Hospital. They're running some tests to make sure that she's okay. So when the doctor goes out to the cops, the doctor tells him she's awake, but she's a bit confused. So please go easy on your questioning. But she'll understand, right? Oh yeah, I believe she will. So they go in, they question Cyan. Why was Officer McGo arresting you? He wasn't. Then why were you in his car? Why don't you ask him? So they get pissed, like, he's in intensive care. Why is that? What'd you do? So you're gonna protect him? You're gonna put this on me? And the officer is like, just trying to figure out why an officer was bleeding. What did you do to him? Did you give him drugs or something? So this lady's like, look, we're done here. All right, I'm with CPS, Child Protective Services. We have priority over this patient right now. So she introduces herself as Sonia, and she wants to know what happened and if Cyan's okay. Even though they don't know that her name is Cyan right now, because Cyan won't tell him her name. She won't give him any kind of identity to work with. So Sonia's like, okay, that's fine, but I need to try to identify who you are. So she asks her nurse, where did you put this young lady's belongings? So she goes over there in the closet, gets her belongings, and she sees a business card for NYPD, Jen. So she calls her and tells Jen, hey, I'm Gloria with CPS, and I'm with the patient where one of your business cards was within her bag. So please call me when you have a chance. So that night, there's a knock. A doctor goes in, or someone goes in, a nurse goes in, whatever, to give Cyan some food. And Cyan's like, I'm not hungry right now. So Jen from the NYPD is like, leave it over there. I'll get her to eat it later. What? You're not supposed to be here. I didn't call them asking for you. Some bull jive, says Cyan. I understand you're upset, but actually you want me here because they think you assaulted and drugged an officer, Officer McCall. They won't let that go, but I know McCall. And I know how he likes to stalk vulnerable women. So I like to help you, but I need you to talk to me. If you don't, I can't do much. And Cyan's like, I can't because no one's ready for this shit, you know? So Jen's like, why are you so scared of? I'm not. I just don't know if no one's ready for my truth. I'm not even sure I am, because Cyan was warned about that in issue number 3. And Jen's like, look, I'm not going to ask you how you got away from me the other day in issue number 1. Curious as that was, but now that you've been involved in 2 incidents where 2 people close to you were physically and mentally impaired, that seems kind of odd, doesn't it? And Cyan's like, nah, I got to clap back for you. You know what's odd? You sitting in the dark with glasses on. She's like, no, it's not odd. She takes off her glasses and she shows the aftermath of her DA assistant husband and what he did to her. So Cyan's like, come closer. Does it hurt? And she's like, well, not as much as my pride does. And you want to know what the worst part is? I'm sending my kids, I'm sending them the wrong message. And that wrong message is teaching them not to fight back. That it's okay what's happening to their mom. I hate that for myself. So Cyan's like, okay, so your husband did that. I know what it's like to be a victim, says Jen. To not have anywhere to turn. That's why I'm here. To see if there's a way to stop you from being a victim too. Does that make sense? It does, but I can't be honest with you, at least not right now. None until and before Cyan can finish her sentence, she gets a call, and her husband's working late, but not late enough to not where he doesn't want dinner at home, so she doesn't want to see those hands again. So she tells Cyan I have to go, so Cyan's asking her, so what now? Am I going to be charged? Will you be coming back? Don't worry, I'm going to protect you. So now we see this matchlight being lit, and this cult people are like, dear members, now knowing that the warnings have come true, that we must rid ourselves those who the devil has tainted with his powers, they must be brought to justice. They're definitely up to something. So what are they up to? They must pay. Who is it that they must pay? Well, that looks like Al Simmons' Spawn when he came up in issue 300 or 299 when he made an announcement to himself that heaven and hell were at war. Yeah, they're pissed about that. So we shall never live in peace again. And they want to go after Al Simmons. But to go after Al Simmons, they go after Cyan. Wake up, dear child. Cyan thinks it's Granny. You shall not ruin our plans. We won't allow your existence to poison us. And this is a scary looking freaking image right there. I mean, if I saw that in a horror movie, I would take that horror movie with some respect right there. Put some respect on it. So they want Cyan to die for what she's become, a monster, and she screams, and the more intense her scream becomes, the more intense her powers become too, to the point where her scream black bolts this demon's head into decapitation. But she wakes up from her dream, and it's Al Simmons right there, and he tells her, I know you was dreaming, that's all it was just a bad dream. I'm sorry it took me so long to find you, but I'm gonna get you out of here. I gotta get you back to Granny Blake. And Cyan's like, I can't go back, I wish I could, but I can't. And Al Simmons like, I don't understand, there are evil forces hunting you, you're not safe here. I know, says Cyan, but there are people that need my help. If I leave, they'll get hurt too. And Spawn's like, I can't protect you if you stay here. And Cyan's like, no, but I have to do this. Okay, fine. It's your life. You know, you're old enough to make your own decisions now. I'm not gonna force you into something you didn't want to do, but if you need my help, get a hold of Mark Rosen. I'll talk to Granny and let her know that you're okay, but soon you need to have a heart-to-heart with her. So meanwhile in court, they took Cyan away without any kind of jurisdiction. They just up and done it. They sped up this case. She's coming to the precinct, and Jenny is pissed. Jenny, the girl with the black eye, she's pissed. So she asked the officer, what the hell is going on? And the officer tells her, Chief got a call from City Hall. I don't give a damn who called. They told me they wouldn't move her from the hospital. Well, the doctors cleared her, says she's fine. But I'll tell you this, the mayor isn't happy. Says he wants charges pressed against her for attempted murder of a cop. Plus, as you know, your assistant district attorney found out she escaped once before. So Jen goes to visit Cyan and apologizes and says that this sounds hollow, but I'm gonna fix this, I'm gonna get it right. Don't worry about it. They're not gonna they can't do this without child protection services being involved. So I'll deny what I'm about to say, but don't give them your name. No matter what, it'll stall things for you. And Cyan's all cool and collected, like, can I ask you some things? Why do you stay? She takes off her glasses. And Jen's like, I shouldn't, but it's complicated. They're the kids, I don't know, I'm just numb to it all, I guess. And Cyan's like, look, I don't mean to understand anything you've been through, and for all I know, I probably don't have anything in common with you, but I wish every day my mom was here, because after my mom was gone, after I lost my mom, it changed me, and not for the better. So for your kids, if you're wondering about them, they need you, they need their mother. And Jen's like, I know that. Then protect yourself so you can protect them. You want to help me, says Cyan, and I'm sure many others you want to help. But how are you going to do that if something happens to you? Where do I turn to, or your kids? Who's going to take care of them? You want to know who I am, what I'm about? Then I'm going to need to be able to trust you and your judgment. So the district D makes a press conference talking about that he made a promise to the voters of the city that justice would be served regardless of their age or background. His goal is to seek charges for those barbarians who disregard our laws, especially those who attack our uniformed men and women. And Assistant DA Swan is like, oh, this is a surprise. Let me fix you a drink. And Jenny's like, no, I'm working. Aren't we all? So tell me, What favor has my hardworking wife come begging for today? I hope it's not to fix your sloppy work again. So he found out in issue number 1 that Cyan escaped. That's why he was late, so he put hands on her. And he found out again that she's messing up. It ain't that she's messing up. He just has a temper problem. But she has to go to him to fix a mistake and to find a way to protect Cyan. And that's all we get. That is the end of issue number 4 of Misery. So what do you guys think of the comic book? Comment below, let me know. Also, link in description if you wish to add this comic book and or any of our other limited print rated comic exclusives to add to your comic book collection. Support the art, support the industry. With all that being said, thank you again for watching. Until next time.